especially students from the universities. So there is a lot of hope that people are buying into the conversations, and they're buying into the belief that we can actually solve the climate crisis, and we can solve it now. So we are at a good place than we were, say, 5, 6, 10 years ago.
Maybe moving forward, maybe 5 years to come, where do you see us? We've been speaking about the whole climate funding, because again, as much as we want to depend on the northern countries, but then again, we will also have to have our own source our own revenues and all that to actually fund our own ways to combat matters of climate change. Where do you see us as a country 5 years to come, 10 years to come, even with the ongoing drought situation?
So I think there are quite a number of things. One is that Kenya really need to get committed on operationalizing our national determined contributions, because in terms of our ambition, it has been quite well. Unfortunately, we still haven't had that political commitment to do it. And this is particularly in regard to transitioning to green energy. And one the good thing with Kenya is that at least for powering our homes, we tend to have electricity which is green, renewable energy, and that gives us a bit hope. In terms of also financing, there is also hope that the Global South might actually end up reaping better in this COP, and a lot of Africans and other countries are fighting to ensure that the loss and damage contributions are actually made. And this is because as much as Africa is suffering the most and the blunt of the climate change, Africa and other Global South countries, including Pakistan, we tend to contribute the least carbon emission. And so people are saying, you can't tell us to contribute the same amount in financing climate change, whereas you are the people in the global north who are contributing the most to the green gas emissions. Mm-hmm. So there is that conversation of Africa needs, or rather the developing countries need to receive much more than loans that are high interest, but the contributions need to come and try to actually pay reparations to people for the damage that has already been done. Mm-hmm. Locally, I think we are on a process where people need to keep on fighting, and especially in terms of pushing for sustainable production systems. As you asked the question about the industrialization versus green energy, it's really a conversation of making commitment to do the right thing now, instead of continuing to destroy our climate and then having to pay more later. So there is the bit that we can actually reimagine different realities and different solutions to climate change now before we accelerate to a bad place where in 5-10 years we will not be able to recover. So there is that bit of it. But also we are having a very critical mass of young people, and I want to reiterate that our young people are actually very engaged in conversation. What we need to do is keep encouraging them. TV's 47 keep giving young people a platform to come and talk about these things, because it is their future that actually they are trying to reclaim. So there is that is hope.
And even as we don't have time profile, puts on, leaders, governments, institutions, companies, you put them accountable matters the whole climate change. What's the response from such institutions?
No, I mean, one of the greatest thing about We Don't Have Time app, it have actually demanded people to be accountable, and we've been able to get responses. I give an example. Facebook, currently Meta, was called out and they were able to give a response. You're finding leaders are also contributing to these conversations, and people are actually reading what is happening on We Don't Have Time app, and they are responding. So as a platform, it's about holding people accountable, and I do believe if we don't call people out, sometimes people are so carried up and buried up in their whole idea of what they think is right, that they're actually doing the wrong thing for the people. And it is our responsibility to actually call them up. And we do hope that this continues beyond even COP27, even as we're going on to the other parts of the year. And even here in Kenya, we can be able to continue to call out our leaders and say, no, we cannot be able to continue destroying our forests. We cannot be able to continue destroying our water systems. We cannot continue using fossil fuels. And with that, we'll be able to hold them accountable and call them back into action on the right path.
Right. Patrick, even as you chime into that, do this, institutions, government institutions, the companies, what's the response matters when you put them accountable? And even on that, for somebody watching this morning and they hear COP27. I don't know if you've been to Egypt.
No, I wasn't in Egypt, but we have been able to set 4 representatives representing us in Egypt.
But then as a profile which, airs this, there's obviously the whole sights and sounds and all that, the reason for someone to be in Egypt. But then let's start with how accountable, what's the response from the institutions?
Okay, I can say so far the response is very great. Like our Kiambu County, there is a review we happen to load regarding them and regarding the service they are giving, and they responded very positively. Apart from that, we don't have time, we work with like 3 reviews category. The first review, we call it Climate Love. The second review, we call it Climate Idea. And the third one, we call it Climate Warning. So we advise whoever using our platform, in case you happen to see any problem in our counties, in our country, in our continent, in Africa, or wherever in planet, you give them review regarding what you feel. For example, if it's for Climate Love, we support whoever doing good. Someone somewhere out there listening us or watching us can give that kind of review, and they really actually work out.
Right. When COP26 happened in Glasgow, Scotland, there obviously some pledges that were made by even the former President Uhuru Kenyatta, and he said that we as Kenya, we're going to make these particular pledges. And right now, again, some more pledges will be made. What do you think of that? Should we keep on having more pledges and more pledges, and we're not actually implementing them?
It's very bad that we keep being promised so much and during all the COPs. But as climate activists and advocates, we are so much tired of these, and so we are demanding climate action. Actually, nobody is now wanting so many promises. We want action taken, one in climate financing, and so that entirely covers it all, because once you're financed, maybe you'll be able to carry out activities that will be able to help you mitigate or even adapt. So we don't want so many pledges made. We want action at this moment, and so that is what we are demanding from all global leaders. Unfortunately, we see some of them also bending the law, or rather going against their words, because you cannot be fighting fossil fuel at the same time you're driving guzzlers into the conference. It's so bad. You're jetting there with a private jet.
The whole paradox that was.
Yeah. So that's so unfortunate that and that actually grows fears in us to see no action will be taken there. So it's a fear that is looming up in us, because if actually they cannot take measures, maybe drive or in electric cars or even jetting in biogas fueled jets. So that creates a fear no action will be taken, of course, if actually during the COP no action is being taken, such little actions is being taken.
Okay.
Yeah.
Terry, still in mass the whole pledges. The one pledge that has always been made is ensuring that we live in a 1.5 degree world. Are we ever going to get there?
It's a very scary place because, and I'll take it from what Kamal has said. It was one of the most disappointing thing about COP27 was the global leaders flying private into Egypt, and still going to talk about the 1.5. It feels as if, are we really committed to actually going to below 1.5? And already the fact that we are already feeling the brunt of that global warming already worries us. But the thing, and this is, it's probably I should also mention that We Don't Have Time launched a campaign last week at the start of the COP27 of We Can Do It, because we know there is the fear and the impending danger of going above 1.5 degrees, but also we do recognize we can do something now to change that. So it's sort of a paradox. If we do not make commitments, actualize commitments to cutting our carbon emissions, we are definitely going to tip over to probably 2.5 or even 2. It's going to become too hot for us to even survive. But if we actually cut carbon right now and we're able to do climate restoration, of which we have a lot of technologies to do that, we would be able to cut down back our green gas emissions, and temperatures are going to come down, and we're probably going to have the pre-industrial temperature levels that, this is the hottest that the Earth has ever been. This is actually really the hottest it has ever been in a long time, at least during the human race period. Yeah.
Okay, Kerry, as the country director, and because of time, we really have to get your final words on this. Kenya, other African countries, where we when you audit Kenya compared to other African countries, and even globally, are we on the right trajectory?
Yeah, Kenya is just improving, but not really much. I think they should, or they're supposed to do much. In terms of forest recovery, we support the idea of our Dr. President William Ruto to bring like 10 billion trees in his tenure of 5 years or 10 years if he would get 27. But we need to improve a lot. We need to educate our people in the Turkana counties that have been affected and so many areas in our country.
Okay, come on, your final words on where can somebody watching this morning get to know? They're probably interested in, we don't have time, the profile on it. Where can they access it? How can they reach you guys? How can they be part of We Don't Have Time?
We all have to understand that we don't have time, everyone, even you included. So it's not just part of the crew that We Don't Have Time is, or the organization itself. So we have to bring everyone on board. And by doing so, we have an application in which we advise or even ask people, beseech people to download the application, or even not just download the application. They can also join in the organization or the platform by logging on to www.wedon'thavetime.org. By doing so, you become a member. But not just a member, we ask you to become an active member, because your voice will be heard only through that kind of platform. Because you understand, we cannot, I cannot go on the streets alone this morning, or even pick a few of us here and go in the streets. We can do this collectively through the use of technologies that we have, and that is the use of media channels. And We Don't Have Time has grown to become one of the biggest media channels in matters climate. And we are soon launching actually climate TV, called You Don't Have Time as well. So we're asking people to come on board. However, you can also find us on our social media platforms. On Twitter, We Don't Have Time, and we have 2 pages for We Don't Have Time, the larger account, and we have another one for the Kenyan office. And we are also on Instagram, we're also on LinkedIn, and we're also on Facebook as well. So you can reach us. And also we have our office here in Kenya, and actually this office controls the region, and to an extent, larger extent, Africa. And we are located in Thika. So you can visit us at Thika, building called Johanna Center, along Nkrumah Road. And it's actually opposite Safaricom shop, the Thika branch. And again, we have, that is the 4th floor of that building, Johanna Center, room 413. Okay. We have a number that you can reach us easily, that is 0710-330-834. Okay. Otherwise, you can also write us an email, through the Kenyan office, or even through the account is kenya@wedon'thavetime.org. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Cherry, for you, as you make your final words, if you had, if you're sharing a cup of tea with the president right now for his next 5 years in his tenure, what will you advise him to do to make the whole pledges and the whole climate and combating the whole climate crisis?
Okay, I would actually tell him there are 3 important things that he needs to focus on, and this is improving in terms of climate awareness. I think one of the things that have been recognized in this COP is that we still need to do a lot in creating awareness in the communities, and especially going around helping people understand what their contribution towards climate change is. Okay. The other thing will be in supporting small-scale farmers in adopting nature-based solutions for food production. And this is because we are realizing that the impact of climate change is already here. And unless we are able to adopt very sustainable modes of production, and given that our country is actually fed by mkulima mdogo, these communities need to do. So are we talking about subsidizing fertilizers, or can we be able to support technologies that are nature-based, able to produce in much more? And the third one, and the most important one, will actually finance climate change from the government. And I think that climate change solutions from the government, that commitment will really mean that we are not only waiting for aid to come, but there is an actual contribution by the government to ensure that the solutions are actually implemented.
Okay, thank you very much. And so it's actually 9 a.m. And again, as promised, we don't have time. So thank you again. We don't have time talking about matters combating the climate crisis.